Hello, my name is Sandra Sieb. I am the co-founder of Leadership Partners, a small executive coaching firm in Australia. I'm French, excuse my accent, and I have been living in Sydney for about 17 years. So as some of you know, Sydney is starting its 11th week of lockdown. And I know for many people, you might be thinking, and so, we've had lockdowns for a month at a time, and I get that. But for us here, it's quite a shock. I think for the past 18 months, privilege of being an island and also of having a fairly restrictive inland incoming policy, we have been, for the most part, sheltered. Of course, Melbourne took a hit last year, but for the most part, our life felt quite comfortable. So this new lockdown, especially when the rest of the world seems to be opening up, has come quite as a shock for many people. And with the work we do, it is not hard for us to pick up the mood. And frankly, and not surprisingly, it's not doing very well. So why this message today? Well, as I said, we've noticed that the mood is really going down the drain at the moment. And so we have been offering as many well-being workshops as we could to our clients, but it feels so little when there's so much distress around us. So I've been scratching my head around what could we do to support more people. And hence the purpose of this video. I thought I would record the outline of our workshop and share it in the hope that some of you might use it for your own benefit or might share it, but that it can help more people than the one we're able to reach at the moment. So what is our message? Well, first of all, let's face it, COVID sucks. There's just no doubt, right? And there are things we can do to support our mood. Because no matter what the context is, if we give it the power to also make us miserable, then we really, don't have a lot of room to move. So what are the things you can do to support yourself? And I think at the beginning, I was hesitating to make this video because the message seems so simple. I'm almost feeling embarrassed to have to share it. But frankly, what I've noticed in the workshops is that it doesn't hurt to repeat the things we know. And some people, especially in the younger audience, don't always know those kind of things. So please bear with me if the message seems a bit too simple. So the way we look at well-being is around three components. There's the physical well-being, there's the emotional well-being, and there's what we call the spiritual well-being. So of course, everything is intertwined and interconnected, but it does help to look at each block individually. So let's start with the physical well-being. It's just how to support your body to be as healthy as possible. And there again, there are three pillars: good sleep, good food, and being active. Good sleep, 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. I used to be a very how do you say this? Like, I didn't used to sleep much. I was very happy and proud to say I can thrive with 5 to 6 hours sleep, and I can still do. But I've since learned the benefit of sleeping in terms of boosting our immune system and also our emotional well-being. So especially in times when we're challenged, a solid night's sleep of 8 hours makes a whole difference. And I have seen the impact on myself over the past year, where I've paid more attention. So thing. But what do you need to do to have a good sleep? It's not like you can decide, oh, tonight I'm going to, have a good night's sleep. It's not that easy. Many of us wake up in the middle of the night and are worried. Well, there's a few things you can do. First of all, it does help what the research shows to go to bed and to wake up within the same hours. So, if you go to bed between 9 and 10 or 10 and 11, whatever it is, but try to stick to this 1 hour bandwidth, both for wake up and going to bed. So that's important. What's also important is to be maybe an hour or two before going to bed, having a bed night routine to help you ease into it. So, not dim down the lights, don't be on your screen so much, because the blue light will keep you more awake at night. Maybe try to have a shower, a bath, or grab a book, anything to really tell your nervous system it's about to go into bedtime. But again, there's more to do to help you have a good sleep. You need to make sure that you eat well and you get exercise. So eat well, I'm sure you've heard your mother say, eat your veggies and eat your fruits. That's the basic of it. We all tend to find refuge in the food when it's difficult, or not all, but maybe many of us. And it's actually doing the opposite, because if we overload a system with toxin, with saturated fat, with sugar, we're actually making it harder for a system to rejuvenate and regenerate and have good night's sleep. So the next time you want to reach for that pack of biscuit or that pack of chips, think again and maybe reach for a piece of fruit or a handful of nuts. There are many other healthy alternatives you can use to sustain your mood with food, as opposed to junk food. So that's one thing. Of course, water intake is quite important. Drinking at least 1.5 liter to 2 liter of water every day is essential to flush the toxin. And no, drinking coffee does not count the same way. So it really has to be water, and not just, herbal tea is probably fine, but tea, coffee, soft drinks just doesn't do the same. So really water. And last but not least, try to limit your alcohol intake. It's quite scary how many of us have slipped into, I'm going to have a drink tonight, it's been a big day. And slowly but surely, we start having the drink almost every night. And again, that has an impact on your mood and impact on your sleep. So if you could refrain from drinking too much, maybe keep it, what we say to people is, if you really can't cut out the drinking, keep it to 1 or 2 nights a week at most, and 1 to 2 glasses, but no more. And I can guarantee that over time, you will see the impact on your sleep. So that's for the physical well-being, sleeping well, eating well. And of course, the last bit is getting active. When it comes to getting active, it is amazing to see how some of you have not gone out of their houses for the past 5 to 6 weeks, not even to go around the block. And that doesn't work. You really need to shake the energy to change environment. Even if you just have a backyard, go outside, take some, sunshine and some vitamin D. But really, it would be ideal if every day you could go out, even just for a walk. If you don't want to do more, or if you can't do more, but if you're a bit more physical, what we usually recommend, and it's this from health guideline, is at least 3 times a week, 13 minutes of cardio exercise. And by cardio, we just mean activities where your heart rate goes a little bit higher, so that you can benefit from endorphins, which is called the happy hormone. So being active really, again, helps you support your system, your nervous system, and have better nights. So that's the physical well-being bit. Now, what about the emotional well-being? Emotional well-being is really about supporting your mood. There are things you can do to help, your mood be a bit more upbeat than the current doom and gloom. And the first question I usually have for people is, how often do you watch the news? And what is the impact on your moods? Some of our clients turn the news on when they get up and turn it off when they go to bed. And so they have this constant background noise of the news going in, with all the stats and the data and the depressing information, really. And then they're surprised to feel cranky, frustrated, anxious. It doesn't help. The amount of toxicity in the atmosphere at the moment, of fear, of anger, is contagious. So I'm not saying, don't watch the news at all. I mean, some people choose to, but at least try to limit your exposure to the news. Just watch one day to have the biggest, the most important information, and move on. And my rule is that if something really big happens, someone else will tell me, I'm pretty sure. So again, try to not to be more disciplined around watching the news. That's one thing. But then more generally, look at what else is creating stress in your life, and try to see what can you do for the stress to lessen. One stress that's quite obvious at the moment is the juggling we all have to do, and especially parents, between homeschooling, working, and just the rest of life, really. And this is where, the message we want to tell to parents, and it's not just from us, it's what we've seen in the news. We've seen principals say that, we've seen articles in the news, from researchers saying this, to parents, just relax. Many parents are really worried that their kids are going to fall behind, and they're really driving themselves crazy to make sure that everything is done. It is just not realistic. You will drive yourself crazy as well as your children. So if you have not already backed off, please do, for your own sake and for their sake. Yes, they might not have the most academic year, but they will catch up eventually. Schools will have to adjust their curriculum. There are thousands, millions of kids in that same situation around the globe. And of course, school will have to adjust and take that into account. It's obvious. So do what you can. I'm not saying don't do anything, but do what you can. An article I read yesterday in the Sydney Morning Herald said, focus on math and English because those are the most transferable skills you can do. And for the rest, read with your kids, play with your kids, have fun, connect. What your children need most is to connect with you, to feel you're well and emotionally stable. That's the best gift you can give them, especially if they're a bit older and they're really picking up on the anxiety at the moment. I'm thinking of teenagers. So that's one thing you can do. The other thing you can do is, it's amazing the amount of people close to burnout because they are working not 100 but 120% of the time, and this is just not realistic. They have back-to-back meetings, they're on Zoom, on call all day long, and they're exhausted, and it is not surprising. So what I've been telling people is try to contemplate taking what I call the 20% COVID buffer time, which means just to make room for the current environment. We need more time to take care of ourselves. And so try to start a bit later, to finish a bit earlier, take a lunch break, and try to not have back-to-back meetings. Even if it's just a 10-minute or 15-minute break in between two meetings, that's better than going from one to the other. If you have 10 to 15 minutes, you can get up, you can stretch, you can go and grab a glass of water. It just makes a whole difference for you to not just feel so drained. And, I can hear some of you saying, well, you don't know my boss. I can't do that. Well, have you asked? You would be surprised. Most people feel they can't. And when we talk with leaders, and they understand, they just don't always think of it, but they understand. And, asking for a 10-minute pause in between meetings is not the end of the world. If you're more efficient, more effective at your work, you will catch up. So again, the point there is really for you to watch what is creating stress in your life and where can you dial the stress down by taking a few steps. So that's for the stressor. And then there's lots of things you can do to boost your mood. Positive psychology has a lot of interventions which have been quite well researched, that are simple to do and to integrate in your day-to-day life that can support your mood. One thing that I've developed along the same line that I tell my clients is what I call the joy practices. What are 10 things that you can do that tend to boost your mood? Of course, it's not going to always work, but if you have them in the back of your mind, you can try. And there's one trick: you can't have on that list only things around, food, around being with others. You need to have things that you can do on your own, alone, and to really tap from your inner resources. So things on your list can be, taking a warm bath, listening to music, reading a book, whatever brings joy to you. For me, the two things that seems to work all the time is putting some, disco music on in the living room and dancing alone or with my kids, or going for a walk with my headphones on and putting some of my French teenager music and singing along. That seems to always be working, but those are my things, and I'm sure you can think of many other initiatives to boost your mood. In the portfolio of positive psychology intervention, there's all the interventions around gratitude and mindfulness. So gratitude is really just counting your blessing and being grateful for what we still have. Not everything has been canceled, as I read somewhere in a poster on the street. The sun is still shining. Okay, maybe not today. The sun is still shining. The sky can still be blue. And if you're watching this video, it means that you're here and healthy and alive. I know that sounds a bit dramatic, but at the same time, those are all things to be grateful for. And frankly, if you look at the news, there are many places where you wouldn't want to be. And especially here being in Australia, there's a lot of things for us to be grateful for. So think of that, maybe start the day or finish the day with 3 things you can be grateful for, and try to change. If you're grateful for the same thing over and over time, it wears off and it's not as effective. And by the way, it's something great to do with kids. I used to do this with my children when they were little. At the end of the day, just before going to bed, I was asking them, okay, what are 10 things that put a smile on your face today? And 1, 2, 3 is easy. But when you go to 10, you really have to scratch your head, and sometimes you have to learn to look for the very simple things that put your smile. It's just training your eyes to do different things. So that's for gratitude. Of course, there's the whole realm of mindfulness, meditation practices, relaxation that can be quite useful. You've got lots of apps like Headspace, a lot of great teachers. I mean, if you look online, there's lots of offering at the moment. Many people are offering things for free if you prefer guided meditation. I personally like just silent meditation, just focusing on my breathing. That just works for me. I've been doing 20 minutes for a year, and in the past 10 weeks, I've been doing an hour every day in the morning, first thing when I get up, and I can definitely feel the difference between the days I do and the days I don't. So that's some of the things you can do. So all the things are for the emotional well-being practices. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I forgot. I think that's it. Of course, sorry, one more thing. Relationships. Having vibrant relationships is important. And of course, again, we can't see our friends, our family. For many of us, our family is overseas and it's difficult. I get that. I feel the same. And there's still things you can do. You can call them, you can do Zoom meeting, you can, if you live in the vicinity of some friends, you can go on walks with some friends. So there's still a lot of things you can do to boost your mood and your relationship interactions. A few weeks ago, it was the birthday of a friend, and because we were restricted to being only outdoor at 2 people at a time, we organized a walk 2 by 2 where we would just do a relay with a birthday candle from one point to the other. This way we were never breaking the rule. We were always 2, and she got to see, I don't know, about 10 people, and it was a lot of fun, quite creative, and we all had a blast. So this is a great time to be creative and try different things. Again, focus on what you can do as opposed on what you can't do. Of course, I am not saying ignore the negative. That would not be right. Many of us have a lot of difficult emotions at the moment. I've had my share also, and it's important to acknowledge them. This is where I find the meditation practice useful, but you can just go for a walk with a friend, give a call to someone, and there are many associations that are there to help. If there's no shame in saying I'm unwell, we are all going through unwell times from time to time, and it's important to reach out. From top of my head, there's Lifeline, Beyond Blue, Black Dog Institute, and many others where you can just give an anonymous call and they will be there to help. When it comes to organizations, most organizations have access to EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, where you can just, again, have counseling sessions. So if you're not well and if you feel that you need someone else to be there for you, please call. I mean, this is what this is there for. And it would be, there's no shame in reaching out. It's actually quite important. One practice I find quite useful myself is when I'm feeling down is either to go for a walk in nature, because nature kind of has this soothing impact, or just lying down on my bed and accepting to be sad, to feel whatever I have to feel for 5, 10, 15 minutes. And I find that when I've really fully felt the emotion I need to feel, eventually I feel better, need relief, because the more we push it away, the more we bottle them up, the more we reinforce them and they get stronger. So acknowledging our feelings, naming them is actually really important. So I think that's it in terms of what I wanted to say for the emotional well-being. And then there's what I call the spiritual well-being. And I know spiritual is a bit big word, and people say, oh, you shouldn't talk about this, but I will, because I'm not talking about anything else other than connecting with something bigger than you and now. And I think the simple way for me to talk about it is about meaning. For me, spirituality is about knowing what gives you meaning and doing more of that. And so, have a think. What gives you meaning? What's important for you? What gives you a sense of purpose? There are many different things you can do. For many people, it can be about learning something new, taking a new class, learning a new skill, taking a new course. For me, that's definitely always something. It's one of my go-to. Again, this is where connecting with others, helping others, can also give you a lot of meaning. And even if you don't have anybody you can connect with at the moment, especially if you're in one of these areas where you're really restricted and you live alone, you can always go out. You can always smile to a stranger. You can always and say hello. You can always do a random act of kindness that will make you feel better and make others feel better. So there's lots of things that you can do to increase a sense of meaning in your life. For me, doing this video is increasing my sense of meaning. So again, this is a very personal question, but give it some thought and see what you come up with. And generally, I think in terms of this question of spirituality, it's about learning to be more reflective, increasing your self-awareness. This period is difficult, and it's also offering us a beautiful opportunity to transform our lives. So over the past 18 months, since this madness has started, what have you learned about yourself? What did you realize you were attached to? What did you realize you did not miss? There's thousands of questions you can ask yourself that will help you deepen your understanding of yourself and of others. And they're all meaningful questions that can help you, grow and connect with a moment that's bigger than just the one we have now. There's a question I like to ask people, and it's the question we asked as a family at the end of at the beginning of the first lockdown last year is, when we look back on this time, what do we want to see? How do we want to have traveled this time together? How do we want to have been? And if you look forward, how do you want to emerge from this period? What's the new you could be working on at the moment, as opposed to just feeling stressed and miserable? This is a good time to reset and to be with yourself and look for a new way of doing things. I know it's happening because I can hear it left and right, that lots of people are having thoughts about wanting things to change, and I think it's quite beautiful to hear some of the thoughts for the after COVID, or at least the being with COVID on longer term. So again, there's lots of things you can do that will help you not just be stuck in the here and now, but connect with a longer time frame. And I think those are important to help us be more comfortable with what is at the moment. So there are many more things I could be saying, but I realize this is already quite long, and I'm hoping you've put the double time speed to go a bit faster. But yeah, I just wanted to keep this simple. There's one last question I will ask you, and it's the question I ask everybody during our workshops, is if you look at all those three different things, physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being, and you gave yourself a grade out of 10, where are you placing yourself? 10 being I'm doing awesome. Where are you placing yourself today? Are you above a 5, below a 5? And even if you're an 8, what can you do to nudge yourself more towards 10? I think those are important questions to ask yourself and to really take stock of where you are. So voila, this is my bit. This is what I wanted to do to help. I hope you found it useful. Please, if you did, find it, share it. If you want more information, there's a lot more we can give you. There's slides, but I think in the essence, you can use the content of this presentation to run a workshop. Just press pause, ask question, make it interactive. And yes, this was really just simply from my heart to yours. And thank you for listening.